Same with Schumaker Levy 9. All of the effects that we saw on Schumaker Levy 9 were of a planet destroying an incoming object with a thunderbolt. The dazzling display baffled astronomers. Cosmic lightning flashes high above Jupiter's atmosphere from the ionosphere. No water was detected, and we could tell that it was the case that it was an electrical discharge phenomenon simply by this ring. An explosion doesn't drop a ring of material, but a plasma jet does. I was asked to referee this paper by a Russian who also considered the Tunguska explosion as an electrical event, an incoming object, charged object in the sky, and its trajectory, and he was looking at geological formations on the ground under the track, and he came to the conclusion that this was examples of the Earth discharging towards the incoming object under the electrical stress, and this is precisely what I would expect. Witnesses reported strange weather and increased seismic activity in the area for days beforehand, and disturbances resembled magnetic storms following nuclear tests. Interesting, magnetic storms, electrical events. And the soil at Tunguska was found to be so enriched with carbon-14 that it shows up as a future date. The point is that the electrical discharges are so powerful that they will cause nuclear transmutations and implantation of radioactive species in the rocks. So we have dumb doomsday. This picture is one you've probably all seen of an asteroid hitting the Earth. It's entirely fanciful because there's no lightning to be seen. The asteroid would be destroyed by a cosmic thunderbolt before it could hit the Earth. What you would get would be an electrical crater on the Earth and a fall of sand and debris and small rocks. Certainly not that. The dinosaurs died not from an impact but as a result of a dramatic change in the Earth's situation in the cosmos. The electrical environment of the Earth must have changed dramatically. And this gets to the kind of work that we're documenting in the books that you'll see outside, Thunderbolts of the Gods. The solar system, the origin of the solar system, attempts to find a plausible naturalistic explanation have failed. In fact, one astronomer in a talk last year said that you need a different theory for every planet. It's just not satisfactory. I got my ideas about the solar system when I was a teenager, reading this book, Worlds in Collision by Immanuel Velikovsky. And he, as Duncan said in the introduction, was responsible for my interest in this problem of solar system dynamics and what is gravity. What don't we understand about it? Velikovsky argued that planets change orbits, exchange thunderbolts, and quickly settle into peaceful orbits. It's not a clockwork system. Rapid settling following chaos defies our understanding of gravitational systems, which for more than a two-body system, as I said, are chaotic. So our understanding of gravity and the solar system mechanics is wrong. This is an excerpt from our latest DVD. It shows that our ancestors saw a sky which we would not recognise.
So regular, predictable, one might think they've moved like this forever. Contrast to things claimed by the first astronomers of ancient Mesopotamia and numerous cultures that followed. They watched planetary motions with a compulsive fear. Why would diligent astronomers insist that the planets were the towering gods of a prior time? Planets ruled the destiny of kings and kingdoms. And they were the agents of Doomsday, the end of the world. What was it about planets that inspired such reverence and fear? Far from the spotlight today, researchers are exploring these questions of planetary history. They bring wide-ranging backgrounds from comparative mythology to planetary science and plasma physics. All are asking if the solar system may have been unstable in the past, alive with electrical activity.
That's just an excerpt from our latest DVD. It reveals the profound effects on the Earth and prehistoric witnesses when the power of the electric universe was unleashed in a chaotic solar system. And that imagery you see on the cover is one of the preeminent images from that period. And it shows up today in all of our religious iconography. It's fascinating to visit cathedrals and so on, which I've been doing in Spain just recently, and to see this so-called Saturnian imagery just leap out at you everywhere. The cause of the chaos has much to tell about the origins of the solar system, because the story is more incredible than any science fiction book I've ever read. Normally, under gravitational theory, capture by the sun is almost impossible gravitationally because there's no energy loss. An object coming from deep space will just whiz in around the sun and disappear again. But electrical capture has a huge cross-section of the order of the diameter of astrospheres. That's a heliosphere generalised for stars, which is huge. And when charge exchange begins, energy transfer and mass changes begin and accelerations begin. Now, cold brown dwarfs are the most plentiful stars, and in fact they've just begun mapping nearby cold brown dwarfs, as they're called. It requires a special kind of infrared telescope. The result has been so far that they are discovering more than they expected, and this fits this story of the recent history of the solar system beautifully, because it seems that we are not originally of this solar system. When the dinosaurs roamed the Earth, we were a part of a cold brown dwarf system. The brown dwarfs, as I've shown in this picture, become comets during capture, eventually settling down around the new star, their capturing star, as a gas giant. All of our gas giants are in the outer solar system, and I would suggest all are captured. The birth of rocky planets can occur during that capture process, just as comets explode for unknown reasons. They're actually electrical. A captured brown dwarf can also discharge matter from its core in an attempt to adjust to the new electrical environment in orbit about a brighter star. And Venus, I would suggest, that's Venus in that picture there, is the most recent addition, the most recently born planet in the solar system. This theory explains why so many hot Jupiters have been found whizzing around their central star in a matter of days or hours in some cases, to the puzzlement of astronomers who feel that gas giants can only form in the outer reaches of the solar system. So they've had to come up with the ad hoc idea that somehow these giants migrate in closer to their star. No, the star that gave them birth is holding the child close. It also explains the expulsion rings. These are misinterpreted as accretion disks. They're expulsion disks because stars and gas giants can emit material to form a ring, and all of our gas giants have some form of ring. You can find out family resemblances through their axial tilts, because a planet rotating is like a giant gyro. So you look at all the objects in the solar system and try and match axial tilts, and you'll find that Saturn, Mars and Earth are close. Venus is different because it was recently born, and it has a backward rotation because in the process of being born it's like gears meshing, and the object that's born is given a kick backwards. So it's rotating slightly backwards. All of this fits, it's simple. Doesn't need a separate theory for every planet. This is a professor from the ANU in Canberra, who I know quite well. And at one of his talks he said, when the remote chances of developing a habitable planet are added to the chances of developing both high intelligence and a technically advanced civilization, the odds of finding little green men elsewhere in the universe decline to zero. This is the hopeless kind of picture that we have from our present cosmology. The electric universe suggests completely otherwise. The most hospitable place for life is cocooned inside the red electrical glow of a brown dwarf star. And this, I think, will be borne out in future. Already it's been found that a nearby red dwarf appeared to be two red dwarfs because the glow from it was too bright to be associated with a small star. I would suggest these things are giants. All red stars are giants. And the so-called red dwarfs are actually giant, sufficiently big anyway to have objects orbiting within their red plasma sheath. So the search for extraterrestrial intelligence, SETI, is mistaken in looking for a planet situated like the Earth, near a bright star. We're actually in a more precarious position than most life in the universe. However, we do have the advantage that we can see the universe. Planets orbiting inside this glow would not be able to see the universe, they would not be able to receive radio signals nor transmit them, which gives the answer to why we haven't heard from ET. Plasma mythology. This is where we get to the thunderbolts of the gods. Globally, petroglyphs show to a high degree of confidence that within human existence the Earth has suffered stupendous electrical discharge phenomena in the heavens. And this is down to an expert in the subject, a world expert, Dr. Anthony Peratt. He was absolutely astounded when he found that his work matched the work that we've been doing in comparative mythology and petroglyph drawings, because we were convinced that they were pictures of the sky. The origins of rock art are prehistoric. And you'll notice the forms are identical to the many forms generated by instabilities and high-energy plasma discharges. One of the most common forms is this squatter man. And you'll find this almost always associated with two circles underneath the elbows and above the knees. The plasma formation is this one. Raised arms, a plasma toroid, which you see as two bright circles, and the legs here, and often appendages and a head. This is the plasma form, that's the petroglyph. This new understanding is of monumental significance in understanding the real history of the Earth and humanity. We have lost knowledge. The Wandjina figure on the left there is from the Kimberley region, and in the book Yoro Yoro, where Jutta Malnik interviewed David Moaljalil about the legends from that region and what the significance was of this Wandjina man. And he used specific words and said, you must use these words because anything else will be incorrect. Malangiri, the lightning ring, is the first or closest to the head. The line between the eyes indicates where the power flows down and is not a nose. That's extremely significant. It's the same kind of imagery that the Maoris use when they poke their tongue out, or the images of Mars with a sword hanging down. Francis Bacon said, man prefers to believe what he prefers to be true. I prefer that it is to believe what the ancients had to tell us about the thunderbolt of the planetary gods, since it may illuminate the electric universe and confirm ancient testimony. Also, ultimately, it's easy to verify. Plasma discharge phenomena are complex and lifelike. The heavens were their arena, so all the celestial gods were plasma related and planetary related. It is where the planetary gods played out a celestial drama and fought each other with thunderbolts. That was their favoured weapon. So the words such as land, cosmos and even universe are usually the words of the translators and do not connote the original meaning of the words in creation myths. Even the word earth didn't refer to the earth originally, it referred to this phantasm in the sky. What is usually meant by such words in the original is the celestial land of the gods. It was the creation of the abode of the gods in these plasma forms. So creation refers to the generation of that celestial apparition. It has nothing to do with the creation of the earth, the universe, or anything. We can actually decode Stonehenge now. Like all great prehistoric constructions, it was built to commemorate the stupendous electrical phenomena seen in the ancient sky. The problem with all of the explanations so far for the monumental constructions like the pyramids around the world and so on, we've never had a motivation. The motivation was to recreate what the ancients had seen in the sky on the earth. Stonehenge has around the perimeter what's called the Aubrey holes, and there's 56 of them. You remember in that picture of the supernova and that ring of beads that I showed you? During some of these plasma discharges, those beads were also witnessed in the sky, and they have a characteristic number because these Birkeland filaments tend to form pairs, and then they pair with another pair, so it goes in a number sequence. And one of the common numbers is 56. And the 56 Aubrey holes mimic the discharge pattern seen in the lab. This is an example of one of those beams being intercepted by what they call a witness plate, with 56 holes or punched in a witness plate. So the electric universe embraces plasma cosmology, accepts a non-expanding universe, explains gravity and magnetism, explains quantum weirdness, returns to an ether, explains electric stars, explains dramatic Earth history, and offers a coherent big picture. Just a few words about it, since we're running a few minutes over time, about predictive success. There was the Deep Impact mission, which I've mentioned, the Stardust mission, which returned high-temperature minerals, the dust devils on Mars, which are electrical discharge phenomena in a thin atmosphere. I was the only one on planet Earth who predicted that the pole of Saturn, which has been in darkness for 14 years, would be found to be hot. It's because it's suffering an electrical discharge at the pole. Saturn's moons, I explained that I'd predicted that under the thick clouds of Titan would be found scarring on the surface, similar to that found on Mars and the Earth, and that was found to be so. It wasn't an ocean of methane. I explained the electrical discharge machining of Io and Europa and made predictions which were borne out. I've predicted supernova 1987A. Those bright beads will rotate around one another and merge over time. And if you want to see more of the predictions, they're on the thunderbolts.info website, where we have a daily picture of the day, which is in competition with the astronomy picture of the day. And I believe our traffic now exceeds that of APOD, or Astronomy Picture of the Day, and several other well-known astronomy websites. Some people have our daily update with their morning coffee. Deep Impact was the best of all. Yep.